Let me just add to that. The reason being, this is a reimbursement. So we spend the money, and then we have to ask KDOT for it back. So that's why up front we tell them, here's where we're spending it, so it lines up. Okay. We can certainly change that ahead of time.
How would council like to proceed?
I move that we authorize the mayor to execute supplemental number 1 to agreement number 173-12 with the Kansas Department of Transportation to participate in the Federal Fund Exchange Program to partially fund right-of-way acquisition for the Center and Main Intersection Project, construction and inspection for the Center and Main Intersection Project, construction of a second northbound left turn lane at Cedar Niles and US 56, and traffic signal design for Center and 183rd Street. Second.
Motion Freeman, second Morrow, that we authorize the city, authorize the mayor to execute supplemental number 1 to agreement number 173-12 with Kansas Department of Transportation. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. New business item number 4. Consider authorizing the city administrator to execute an airport federal share match agreement with the Kansas Department of Transportation for the construction of airfield drainage improvements at the Gardner Municipal Airport. David.
Thank you. Back in September, Council approved a grant acceptance agreement with the FAA for airfield drainage improvements. Normally, or in the past, FAA has funded 95% of the project. The local sponsor is responsible for 5%. This year, that was changed to a 90-10 split. However, KDOT had some money to apply on a competitive basis to basically reduce the local sponsor's share to 5%, split that. We applied for the airfield drainage project. The total estimated cost based on our application was $271,195. The final cost came in at $271,135. In this case, the maximum reimbursement per the agreement is $13,560. We're eligible for about just a few dollars less than that. Since we've received full reimbursement from the FAA and the airport board, who reimburses the city for the local share, we would apply for this reimbursement, and then we would in turn refund that money to the airport board.
Good. Are there any questions or comments from the public? Council, questions, comments? How would council like to proceed?
I authorize the city administrator to execute an airport federal share match agreement with the Kansas Department of Transportation for the construction of airfield drainage improvements at the Gardner Municipal Airport.
Second.
Motion Harrison, second Freeman, that we authorize the city administrator to execute an airport federal share match agreement with the Kansas Department of Transportation. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. New business item number 5, consider authorizing the city administrator to execute an amendment to the interlocal agreement with Johnson County to provide building code administration services to the city. Mike.
Thank you. In February, the City Council agreed to execute the agreement with Johnson County for building code administration services. That was primarily for building plan review. The term of that agreement was retroactive to January 1st, and it expired yesterday, March 31st. Staff is recommending this interlocal agreement be amended to extend the term to July 31st, 2013. Staff has reviewed applications and conducted interviews for 2 positions to cover plan review and inspection, so we can start to phase out the outsourcing of plan review. We just began to conduct residential plan review in-house while using our contract with Chapman Specialties for residential inspection. We will be developing our capability for other plan review once we complete the recruitment process. For at least a few more months, we will need the option to outsource commercial plan review. And with that, I'll just conclude my remarks, and I'll be happy to take any questions or comments you might have.
Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this item? That being the case, council, questions for Mike?
Mike, just to be clear on this, though we're extending the agreement through the end of July, we're not committing dollars that in case we do hire and someone's able to take on the task at hand, we're not committing to the expenditures. We're just contracting the service so it's available to us, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
We will do as much in-house as we can.
Yeah, that was my question as well.
Other questions? How would council like to proceed with new business item number 5?
I move that we authorize the mayor to execute an amendment to the interlocal agreement with Johnson County to provide building code administration services to the city.
Second?
Motion Freeman, second Gregorsek, that we authorize the mayor to execute an amendment to the interlocal agreement with Johnson County. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Council, you have before you, and I will also let the public know that certain Mr. Green is planning on retiring, and in honor of such occasion, we're going to have a celebration on Friday, April 12th, between 2 and 4 here at City Hall. So you are certainly welcome to say hello and goodbye, and congratulations to you. Staff, any updates for council?
Yes. During the briefings, we received some questions regarding item number 2 on the health insurance. So I'd like to have an opportunity to have just a quick overview from HR, if it's the council's desire.
Sure. Great. Mary, please.
Good evening. This topic, as you know, we've talked about for some time. We began back, last year we had quite a number of conversations around it. And then again, when Cheryl started in July, came back up and we talked about it on August the 6th. And we talked about value to our citizens and our employees and working forward. And she asked at that point to have some time to review and make some recommendations. We were talking about committees at that time. We came back to council on October the 15th, and during those briefings, Cheryl talked to each of you about what a committee would do versus what internal staff would do, and council agreed at that time to go ahead and let Cheryl Harrison Lee and myself move forward to come forward and make a recommendation. In January the 18th, for the last 10 weeks, I've been putting on the Friday notes updates so that you're all up to date with what we're doing, and each week we provided an update. For the last 3 weeks, I provided a very extensive detail update to you all so that you're aware of what we were doing with our broker, what we were doing, what that broker was doing, what the scope of services was, and what we would be bringing back to you. So we kind of have a couple different decision points. We have carrier, which is what we went out to bid. I'd like to review, if you don't mind, just a little bit of the March 28th memo that I sent to you. And just to make sure we're all on the same page, we did select CBIZ as our broker. I talked to 5 different brokers. We went in depth with 3 of those and selected CBIZ. Requests for proposals were sent from CBIZ to Aetna, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas City, Cigna, Humana, United Healthcare, and Coventry. Out of those 6, 3 of the carriers responded with quotes and 3 declined to quote. One of them declined due that they wouldn't quote against the pool, and the other 2 just were not interested in what was within our employee base. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas City provided a quote, but was quickly eliminated in the analysis by the broker as their rates were not competitive for what we had to spend. We also received new rates from our current provider, Midwest Public Risk, which we also included in the analysis. So we looked at Coventry, United Healthcare, and Midwest Public